Well, let's delve now to the National Development Plan, which is looking at economic growth and development, infrastructure, public administration, human capital development, social development, and regional development, and would need an investment size of 348.7 trillion naira over the 5-year period. We will be dissecting the prospects and the challenges in its likely impact in the country right now. And of course, joining us is Dr. Leke Ebenezer, an economist. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Ebenezer.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, let's look at this NDP, talking about what the federal government plans to take to success as the success of the NDP. How would you rate the performance of the economic recovery and growth plan that was the initial program to develop the economy before this national development program?
Okay, thank you very much. When it comes to rating the economy recovery growth plan, I'm sure that your guess is as good as mine. The government, although had identified some of the major challenges they might face for that plan not to, come to pass, and that is what has played out. You will see that all the parameters that recovery growth plan was hinged upon, a lot of them had actually failed, ranging from security to economic growth to, human capital development, and so on. So for me, that is what has necessitated what we are talking about right now, which is the National Development Plan. That the government now consider that between 2021 and 2025, let's redraft some of the things we have failed in the economic recovery growth plan and draft it into 20 key points that have to be addressed in the next, between now and 2025. So for me, it is a failure. The first plan that was rolled out. But let's hope that this new national development plan will give the result as expected.
Well, the NDP, that's the National Development Plan, is supposed to be structured around 6 main areas according to the federal government, including economic growth and development, infrastructure, public administration, human capital development, social development, as well as regional development. Are there clear-cut strategies for the effective implementation of these initiatives?
I didn't get that question. Can you come again on that, please?
Okay, so we're looking at some of the things that the NDP seeks to achieve. For instance, looking at economic growth and development, infrastructure, public administration, human capital development, regional development. And the question is, are there clear-cut strategies for the effective implementation of these initiatives?
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, there are clear-cut strategies because the subdivision of the plan is focusing on 20 major points, like I said. The subdivision ranging from targeting 35 million persons out of poverty and 21 million new full-time jobs by 2025. And of course, the plan of government for that is to say, look, if we can focus on manufacturing and agriculture, that if Nigeria can get that right, that is achievable. And of course, we also look at reduced cost of production for oil sector, and of course, value addition for mineral sector and tourism. Of course, the federal government is looking at if the country's GDP is growing at the expected rate, which is 3%. Of course, all of those can be achieved. And of course, part of the subdivision of the plan is also including integrating informal sector and of course widening the tax base Because I told you the last time on the program that about 45% of businesses are not captured, in the tax net of the country. And so the government is looking at how can they widen the tax base and, integrate more informal sector into the tax system. And of course, that can increase revenue generation. Given the fact that our budget has always been deficit, for many, many years. And of course, we are also looking at another subdivision is strengthening security and ensuring good governance. And of course, government acknowledge the fact that, look, if we can build capacity, if we can increase human capital development, all of these things are achievable. So for all the 20 subdivisions, there are clear-cut, drafts as to this is how we have to go about it. They also consider, increasing private investment and public investment growth. Of course, there are clear-cut moves to achieving that. Increasing capital expenditure to 30%, because if you look at the budget, the current expenditure has been taking most part of the funds. So the government is looking at how do we increase the capital expenditure that has been less than 30% consistently. How can we, improve on that? Then they are also talking about dropping unemployment rate to an average of 22.78%. That's also part of the subdivision of that plan. And of course, the plan of the government is that, look, if we can try as much as possible to get it right in the area of bringing foreign direct investment, increasing manufacturing sector, performance, and of course agriculture, that can drive down, unemployment rate. And of course, and on like that, because like you said, those 6 major headings of that national plan are subdivided into 20, which time may not permit me to be listing all of them.
But let's look at this economic growth and development as well as social development, which is one of the key points that the NDP seems to want to achieve. How do you suggest that the federal government goes about achieving this?
Okay, like I always say, if you want to grow an economy, you have to talk in terms of output, because in economics, economic growth is when there is increase in the level of output, thereby bringing about increase in national income. So how do you boost your output? Of course, it's true, driving down employment, increasing employment rate, and if you want to do that, you have to work on the manufacturing sector and the productive sector of the economy, so that people can be engaged. And when people are engaged, and when people produce, then the economy can grow. And then, if you are looking at the service sector of the economy, you have to increase capital investment as government, so that when you do that, the economy can grow proportionately. And it is not until then you can achieve what is called economic development, because economic development is economic growth plus improvement in standard of living. So even when an economy is growing in terms of output, in terms of capital projects, but when the people are not feeling the impact, you have only experienced economic growth and not economic development. So the plan of the government is that if we can boost the manufacturing sector, attract foreign direct investment, expand our agriculture base, that can increase the level of output. And of course, that would have driven down the unemployment rate, because that's what Egypt did. Egypt created about 10,000 manufacturing companies within 3 to 4 years. Let me all say one industry is going to employ 500 people. If you multiply 500 times 10,000, that is the number of people that will be employed. And so the federal government is looking at, if we can focus on 3 things, boosting the manufacturing sector of the country, increasing foreign direct investment, and of course, working on our agriculture. That can really bring about economic growth.
Well, what do you make of the financing formula as revealed by the federal government? But before you talk about that, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Looking for your certified plug for everything logistics and management? Then we're at your beck and call at World Coverage Shipments and Cargo Limited. We go the extra miles to ensure a smooth and stress-free freight services for all your importing, exporting, procurement, license stamps, private charter, clearing, forwarding, and more. We're renowned and reliable. We go the extra miles to ensure a safe and professional service, and that has earned us a good reputation globally. You want quality logistics services for your businesses? That is our business at World Coverage Shipments and Cargo Limited. Your cargo is our responsibility. Book us today. A trial will convince you. For further inquiry, please visit www.wcshipments.com or call 0906 577 8367.
Well, if you're just joining us, this is Business Breakfast coming to you live from iBrandTV here in Lagos. Well, we're talking about the National Development Plan of the federal government, and with us virtually is Dr. Leke Ebenezer, an economist. So I was asking what you would make of the financing formula as revealed by the federal government. The Minister of Finance has said that this will be funded by the public sector at 49.7 trillion naira, which represents 14.3%, and then the private sector providing 298.3 trillion naira, that's representing 85.7%, meaning that this will be largely funded by the private sector. What do you make of this?
Okay, although I was using at some point, I didn't really get what you were saying.
I was asking what you make of the financing for. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, I can.
Yes, so I was asking what you make of this financing formula. According to the Minister of Finance, she has said that this would be largely funded by the private sector. For instance, she has said that the public sector would be providing 49.7 trillion naira. That's from the 348.7 trillion naira over the 5-year period. And then the private sector would be providing 298.3 trillion naira. That's representing 85.7% of the total funding.
Okay. Yeah, of course. The federal government has to realize that, if you want to grow, there's a way you have to get the private sector involved. And that is what they have done right in this plan, as far as I am concerned. Because the government that has been running on deficit budget cannot really, meet up the plan as it has always been projected. But, when they look at if we can give an enabling environment to the private sector, and then they have a larger contribution in achieving this plan, that will make it more achievable compared to government still trying to fund this plan from the deficit budget. So for me, it's the right move in the right direction, ensuring that the private sector are doing what they're supposed to do, which is to drive the economic growth and the development the country has been yearning for.
What would be your final thoughts? What are your expectations of this National Development Plan? Do you see it towing the line of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, or do you see it doing a better job and achieving better results?
Yeah, for me, the only thing we need to do is that, like I told you, the subsection of this development plan, if there are some of it that they are unachievable, they are just things that we are dreaming of. Why? Because if you want to have the past, it's always, a raw material to the present. And so you cannot expect that the president, the part you don't have, and bring about the president you want. So for me, there are some of these things that are not achievable. But of course, some of them are achievable within this plan duration. So we should just try as much as possible to focus on the ones that are achievable and get ourselves prepared for the ones that might be difficult to achieve. Even the fact that we do not have some things in place to achieve them.
All right.
So for me, like I said, the ones we can do, let's do them, and the ones we cannot achieve, let's just get prepared so that next government or the next plan after this one can accommodate the ones we have left behind.
All right, thank you so much for sharing your insights on this particular issue, Dr. Leke Ebenezer, economist.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
All right, have a wonderful weekend. After the break, Nigerians continue to troop in their numbers in pursuit of foreign academic qualifications. For many of them, it is a means of leaving the country. A cursory review of Nigeria's balance of payment report shows that Nigerians spent a sum of $11.6 billion on foreign education between 2019 till date. On the flip side, the African giant did not attract any form of inflow from the foreign students. We will be looking at this in details after the break. Please stay with us.